This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know that one friend who always finds the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach? How do they do that? Well, Smart Travel is like that friend, but in podcast form. They cover all things travel finance, like which travel cards earn their keep and which are just heavy, shiny metal, and planning group trips that won't ruin your budget or your friendships. So travel smarter and spend less. That's the key with help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. Armchair-Explorer is a part of the Voyescape podcast network. Check out all of their shows from around the world at voyescape.com. Hey guys, welcome to Armchair Explorer. My name's Aaron Millar. I'm a travel writer and your host, and I'm really excited to share this bucket list episode with you today. It's about a trip I did a few years back, and I won't spoil the details, but I will say it is one of the most beautiful long distance hikes I've ever done. It's not a particularly hard or extreme one. You can stay at these little guest houses and B&Bs along the way, which I love, and actually ended up being a highlight because this is a hike that explores a part of Italy where very few tourists go. If you've never been to Italy, probably it should be on your bucket list, definitely. And though, of course, you might be thinking about those big destination places like Rome and Tuscany and Venice, which is fair enough. But if you like hiking and taking the road less traveled, this one will take you into the heart of the real rural Italy on one of the most beautiful hikes I've ever done. So here's my story. I'm going to share it with you now. It's a combination of things I've written over the years about it, and I hope it gives you just a little bit of a glimpse into what it feels like to be there for real. And if you want to see some pics of this trip, my Instagram is at armchair-explorer podcast. You can message me there as well if you want to find out how to do this for yourself. But don't worry about that right now, because the adventure is about to begin. Sometimes the wrong path is the best path. I was stumbling down the side of a steep mountain slope, pushing through thorny bushes, scratched, thirsty, and utterly confused. But I was smiling. While on a week-long hike across the Ligurian hills in northwest Italy, I had become hopelessly lost. But then something magical happened. I rounded a corner into a mountain meadow filled with dozens of wild horses, muscled stallions with jet black manes, gold-skinned mares, and tiny foals. Startled at first, they soon found themselves more curious than afraid and gradually came to graze by my side. It took me half a day to find my way back again, but it was worth every cut and bruise. The best adventures always happen when you least expect it. I had come to Italy to walk the Old Salt Road, part of a network of ancient trading paths that crisscross the northwestern part of the country. Following the Via del Mare, the highest of all the routes, it begins in the fertile wine-growing plains of Oltrepò Pavese, 50 miles north of Genoa, and then heads steadily south, crossing the Apennine Mountains before dropping down 80 beautiful miles later to the small fishing village of Camogli on the Ligurian coast. For over 1,000 years, mule herders laden with precious salt from the ports of Liguria would use this trail to trade with the rich plains of Lombardy, returning with goat skins of wine, salami, and cheese. But the salt road was now all but forgotten, and their footsteps faded with time. In walking the trail, I hope to mirror their journey, and in doing so, perhaps, bring some of those ancient footsteps back to life. The path begins in rolling fields of blackroot Pinot Noir and bright green Bonarda grapes, dandelions and wild buttercups spotting the land with colour. Oltrepò Pavese is the largest wine-growing area in Lombardy, and every available space is filled with the gentle bustle of worked land. Known as Little Tuscany, it shares that same soft beauty, but the comparison ends with the eyes. The vintages here are consumed locally, not exported, and tourists are a rarity. Hikers, an alien species. As I passed through tiny whitewashed villages with red-tiled roofs and bright green shutters closed for the midday sun, people stared from the corner of their eyes with curiosity and surprise. I stopped for a glass of wine, and it felt like being whispered a juicy secret. 2 days hiking across farm tracks, asphalt country lanes and wooded paths covered in muddy prints of deer and wild boar, and I'd arrived at the small valley town of Vartsi, once an important stopping point on the Salt Road. In the narrow alleyways of the old section, nestled between the faded facades of medieval monasteries and dry stone witches' towers, it's still possible to see the cavernous holes under houses where traders would have set up their market stalls. As I wandered the narrow 12th century streets, bell towers chimed and the steep slopes of the Apennine mountains loomed ominously before me. This is where the climbing would begin. Higher into the mountains, colourful villages and the bustle of farmed land were replaced with the silence of empty hills and a view above the clouds. In 3 days walking, I saw more deer than people and heard nothing but church chimes and the earthy ring of cowbells hidden in wooded valleys below. When Albert Einstein was 16 years old and living in the city of Pavia nearby, he hiked this same mountain path with his friend Otto Neusatter, wild camping beside the Salt Road in Mount Antola National Park. Years later, Neusatter wrote to Einstein, wondering if it was the stars they saw that night that inspired his grand vision of the universe. As I walked beneath the mountain cosmos, it was easy to believe that they might have been. These hills are filled with older history too. 2,000 years ago, the Carthaginian general Hannibal crossed these mountains, sneaking up on the Romans with a vast army, including 37 battle elephants, and defeating them at Trebia nearby. But nowadays, these hills are silent and still. I followed a panoramic ridge above the clouds south for 2 days and met only one other person on the trail, a local sheepherder tending to his flock. Throughout the walk, I stayed in local B&Bs and guest houses dotted along the path, and the deeper I traveled into the Apennines, the more the culture changed too. Spoken English became a distant memory, and the hospitality even more delicious. In the sleepy village of Campagna di Corsola, once a hideout for British spies fueling the Italian resistance of World War II, I was the only guest in the only hotel, spoiled with hand-picked wild mushrooms and 4 individual plates of regional pasta dishes before my main course had even arrived. At the eco-farm Villa Tiffany, free-roaming rabbits, 2 geese and a cow rubbed shoulders with shabby chic 1950s bric-a-brac and terraced allotments of fresh garden veg. If Dr. Dolittle and Audrey Hepburn eloped, this would be their love nest. We laughed our way through an entire 3-course dinner conversation using only charades and Google Translate. Near the end of my journey, I crossed the lower Ligurian foothills, making my way gradually down to the coast. At the tiny hillside village of Usho, I met a clockmaker whose family had been responsible for handcrafting some of the world's greatest church clocks and bells for over 200 years, including many of the Vatican's. "Listen," he told me, pressing my ears in close to the tick-tock of the pendulum. "It's like poetry." Later, at the village hotel Albergo Caprile, the owner Rita sang along to Italian classics as I dipped freshly baked focaccia in calamari dripping with melted parmesan. Moonlight glistened off the ocean, and the salty scent of sea air drifted in. "This food is like our region," she told me between the high notes. "Simple, but genuine." On my last day, belly full and legs tired, I climbed down to the technicolor ports of Camogli, wooden fishing boats sailing into the vastness of the Mediterranean as a sea mist floated up from the coast and surrounded me. I had reached the end of the old Salt Road. That night in Camogli, they would celebrate the annual Sagre del Pesce, an eccentric local fish festival that involved religious processions, burning effigies, and free fish risotto cooked in the world's largest frying pan. But I couldn't stop thinking about those mule herders. When I was lost on the mountain, I had a glimpse of what their arduous journey must have been like. And now, having arrived at the end, they would have to restock on salt, turn around, and do it all over again. I looked up and I could trace that long route from the sea back to the plains in my mind. Thankfully, I had it much easier. I wandered Camogli's medieval streets, ate ice cream on the harbour wall, and jumped into the warm Mediterranean Sea. Because sometimes the best path is the one you've just finished walking. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun to relive that with you. Some great memories. If you want to see some photos or find out how you can do it or any information about the region that I can help you with, head over to my Instagram at armchair-explorer podcast and drop me a message. I'd love to hang out and chat all things travel and adventure. I'd also really appreciate it if you could hit that follow button. It makes a big difference and it means you won't miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this one and think someone else might too, leave a review, tell a friend. I'm really trying to grow the podcast this year, so anything you can do will be a big help. And there's lots more great episodes coming up this season too. We're climbing each of the highest volcanoes on all 7 continents with an absolute madman and adventure legend. We're going on a road trip into the Northern Territories of Australia to find out about Aboriginal culture. We're going to see the Northern Lights in Norway and lots more. So keep walking those old paths wherever they may take you, because the more we look for wonder in the world, the more the wonder of the world becomes a part of who we are. Dare to be truly alive. Armchair Explorer is part of the Voyescape podcast network. Check out their other shows from around the world at voyescape.com. This episode was produced by Armchair Productions. Charles Tyree did the audio editing and sound design, and Aaron Millar, that's me, wrote and presented it. So thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.
Quick question. Do you want travel tips from people who have actually been there?
Our show is co-hosted by Tim Johnson, an award-winning travel journalist who's been to more than 145 countries around the world. And I'm David Brody, the other co-host who's been travel podcasting for 20 years while traveling to 50-plus countries around the world.
In about 10 or 20 minutes per show, we break down a destination with the kind of insight you usually only get from long guidebooks or hours of research.
So if you want expert advice, zero fluff, and travel inspiration that you can actually use, search for Travel in 10 wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can also find us at voyescape.com.
Hi, I'm Pauline Fromer, host of the Fromer's Travel Podcast. We post new episodes weekly, detailing the kinds of money-saving tips and cultural insights that will make your trips richer without making you significantly poorer. We do so by interviewing real travel experts like TV host Samantha Brown, Fromer's authors from around the globe, and such public figures as Free Solo's Alex Honnold. It's a fun travel party. I hope you can join us.